Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step how to create an online store, an e-commerce website with as little effort as possible, but at the same time, making a website that can scale with you as your business grows. So in this video, we're going to be using something called WooCommerce, which runs on WordPress, and this is incredibly popular for several reasons. The first one is that both WooCommerce and WordPress are free, which means that you're only going to have to spend money on your domain and your hosting, making this, again, a very affordable and versatile option. The second reason is because WordPress, as many people probably know, powers about 1/3 of the internet. It's one of the most popular ways to make a website, and because of that, because it's so large, you have a lot of functionality, a lot of apps and plugins and themes, and all of these give you tons of options for how your online store will look, but also gives you tons of options for what kind of functionality you want and how you want to expand as you grow your store. So the benefit here is that you could very easily find a theme, find a template, and in maybe 10 minutes have a website up and running. But if you wanted to, you could really customize that. You could spend the time and make it more advanced, or maybe you just want to start with a simple one now, and in a year, in 2 years, whenever it might be in the future, you can expand and add more functionality then. So the objective here, like I said, is really to make a website that is robust and simple now, that can grow with you as your store and as your brand really starts to take off. So with that being said, you really don't need any kind of background for websites. I'll explain absolutely everything and make this as simple as possible for beginners. So if you don't know anything, like if you don't know what a domain is, that's absolutely fine. We'll cover all of that in this video. And my goal here is to show you guys step by step how to do this without needing to understand any technical details, but I'll add them in there in case you're interested so you can better understand how your website works. Now, with that being said, let's head over to my laptop. I want to start off by showing you guys where we're going to get our hosting and our domain, which is the first step for making your online store. And then later on in the video, I'll show you how to set up blog posts, how to set up a theme, make your website look really good, as well as how to list different products. So if you're trying to sell a physical product, a digital product that's downloadable, a digital product that they could stream, it could be something like a variable product, a group product, lots and lots of different, basically anything you could imagine selling. There is a way to do that with WooCommerce. It's incredibly powerful and, again, very, very popular. So we'll talk about that later on in the video, and then we'll wrap up the video talking about some general marketing things and what to do once your website is actually made and what the next steps are really to make sure that it starts gaining traffic and is ready for Google and is ready for customers and is, overall just as robust as possible. So like I said, let's head over to my laptop first, and we're going to start off with some hosting. And in order to do this, we're going to go to santrelmedia.com/siteground, and that will bring you, make sure we're all on the same page, and you get this discount right here where it's bringing it from, as you can see, about 60% off. We're looking at $15 a month is now down to $5 a month. Similarly, we're looking at $25 a month is now $8 a month. And so these are the plans we have available. Okay, so actually let's rewind a little bit before we spend any money here, just so I can explain exactly what we're doing. So when you're looking at a website, you can think of it as a document. Think of it as like a Word document that you're typing up, and there's a couple aspects to this. The first one is what you're typing on. If it's a Microsoft Word document, if it's Google Docs, if it's the Apple equivalent, whatever it might be, that is the equivalent of WordPress. WordPress is one of the many ways you can make a website. So you can think of WordPress like Microsoft Word, just a place to go to make your website. Then, once you have your document, you can't just close out of it. You have to save it somewhere. And the place you save it is, say it's on your hard drive, on your computer, whatever it might be, that is the equivalent of what a host is. So once you make your website on WordPress, you need to save it somewhere. You can't just close out, or else it's going to go away and you lose all your work. So saving it somewhere is essentially what your host is, and you're going to pay them because it does take physical storage space to actually save your document or your website in this situation. And then, of course, your domain is going to be the name that people type in their little address bar to navigate to your website. You could think of this as like the file name on your document is essentially the same situation here. So people can type in your domain, it'll redirect them to where your website is saved on the host, and they're able to see your website. So hopefully that kind of brings a little bit of light to this and makes it a little more clear. The host, like I said, is where we're saving and really managing a lot of our website. So we have three options here. And since we're using this to really make an online store, you want to keep in mind which plan is actually going to be the best for you. And there are plenty of other hosts out there as well. I'll leave some links below, but we generally recommend Siteground, especially when it comes to something like an online store, something that's going to be generating you a lot of capital. And with that, of course, you want to make sure you have great uptime. You want to have a very reliable and robust option. And Siteground, we think, is the best option for this. Now, looking at these three plans, the first one is probably the best if you're just getting started out, if you don't have any traffic and you're really just trying to get your feet wet. Keep in mind, you can always upgrade these plans further on down the road, but starting off with $5 a month is a pretty modest little investment. I'm going to go with Grow Big. That's a little bit better for me because it allows a little more space for more visitors and for more storage of documents or photos or whatever I end up uploading. It does give you a little bit more on there. Of course, we could actually compare all of the plans if we click on this on the bottom, and it'll give you some more details about what the differences actually are. Like I said, you get a lot of the stuff similar between these. You have like a lot of site tools, a 30-day money-back guarantee, 100% renewable energy match, which is, again, really nice to see that, especially if you're looking to make your business a little more green. That's a really positive thing to see there. Now, as you go down, you'll see that we do eventually hit some of the differences right here. So for example, like ultra-fast PHP, it's going to be on the Grow Big. So as you start to get more traffic, that is going to be more important, your load speed, all types of things like that. Really, you get a lot with all of these plans, but I recommend on your own time, read through these and figure out which one is the best for your brand. Now, of course, for this video right here, this is not a real website I'm making, but I'm going to go with this one right here, the Grow Big. And another thing to keep in mind is on the bottom, it shows what the original price is. This is a discounted price right now, so it's going to be for a year or whatever amount of time you get that for, but eventually the plan will go back to the standard price. So looking at that, the next step we have, now that we chose our plan, is to actually choose our domain. And remember I said the domain is essentially going to be what someone types in on the top, on their search bar, on their little address bar to navigate to your website. So siteground.com is the domain for this site. And then we're going to make one, I'm going to call it Santrel Surf Shop, Santrel Surf Shop. Type that wrong, surf. And you can actually, if you already have a domain, you can go and connect one right here. But I find it's easiest to just buy it directly through Siteground. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. But again, www.santrelsurfshop.com. Of course, if you want something else, .blog, .online, whatever, something like that. Plenty and plenty of options there. But I'm going to proceed with this one and see if it is available. Of course, not every domain is available. If you wanted to be like Amazon.com, you're out of luck. Now, looking at this, the next thing we have to do is actually create our account. So we're going to need an email and a password. I highly recommend you use a secure email, so an email that you don't just throw around everywhere with a terrible password. You want to make sure you have a good password on your email. And then here, you want to make a good password for this as well. And of course, the reason for that is your website is being hosted on Siteground. And while Siteground is very secure and there are two-factor options, if somebody knows your password, then that's going to be a compromise on your part. So you want to make sure you're picking a good password in the first place. Now, other than that, we're going to have some information down here, our address. Oh, looks like we have a special discount. I'm going to say, yes, let's get that discount. And of course, it'll ask for information about us, like I said, our card number, and some other information on the bottom. So for now, I'm actually just going to fill out this information on the top, and then we'll revisit in a second once we get down to the purchase information. Okay, so now we've typed in our information. We're down in the purchase section, and you can see we have a couple options. First of all, the period that we're choosing, you'll see that, so we have a really good deal with 12 months. It says best deal, which is correct, and we're looking at $8 per month. If we go to 1 month, you see it's $30 a month, so that's really not worth it. 24 months, it's $15 a month, so you're getting a decent deal, but really your best deal here is with 12 months. So I highly recommend, if you're getting this, I mean, it only makes sense to get the best deal available. Then below that, we have some extra services. The first one is domain registration, which we already chose by requesting a domain. If you brought your own, that obviously wouldn't charge you for that, but it's only $18 a year. Pretty cheap for a domain, but of course, if you're looking to really save money, you could go to something like Namecheap or something else, and you can get a domain elsewhere. Just keep that in mind. But again, a lot of times it is easier to just go directly through Siteground. Below that, we have domain privacy. It's something I highly recommend you get. Domain privacy, as it says right there, hides your personal details from third parties. So very important to me, at least. And then, of course, we have SG Site Scanner. That's something I'm going to skip out on for now, but it's something you might want to consider getting. And one other thing, I realized I should have mentioned this earlier in the video. There are speed controls on YouTube's video player. So I know sometimes I tend to move rather quickly, or for some people, maybe I move too slow. And whatever the situation is, you can go down, I think it's like the little gear icon on one side, and you'll be able to change the playback speed to go double, 1/2, whatever it might be, and adjust it according to your needs to make sure that I'm moving at the correct pace for you. Now, going down, we have to say, I understand, I confirm, I don't want special offers, and we're gonna say pay now. And just like that, we now have a website and we're ready to go to the next step. So if we go to proceed to customer area, the little button on the bottom there, okay, that brings us into the Siteground dashboard, and you can see there's a lot going on here, but you don't have to worry because most of it is just to make things easy. Like all of these down here are just little walkthroughs for some common things people might want to do, like transfer domain, create an email account, all types of stuff like that. It does try to make it as easy as possible. And we are going to install WordPress in a second, but I want to kind of familiarize you with this dashboard just in case you have to come back here in the future because there are some fundamental tools here. So one of them is websites. If you have multiple websites, you'll see all of those will show up here. Similarly, if you want to make a new website, you could just go and add a new site. We also have services, and this is going to be your hosting and your domain. If you want to change your plans or cancel your plans or change the pricing, whatever you want to do, you can do all of that directly through here. The billing information is over there because these will auto-renew if you don't tell them otherwise. And we can go to referrals. If you have friends and you want to invite them, you could get a little bit of free hosting out of this. Now, going back to the home page, the obvious next step is to actually install WordPress, as it says right on the top. And this is a nice little installation wizard. It's going to walk us through there and make it very easy. So if we just click Setup Site, it's going to bring us over here. So we can start a new site or we can migrate the site. We are going to start a brand new website. So starting a new site, and we can choose if we want WordPress, WordPress with WooCommerce, or a Weebly site builder. We are going to use WooCommerce, but I want to show you guys how to actually install that directly from WordPress. So you could choose either one, it doesn't matter. This will actually save you a step or two, but I'm just going to select just WordPress for now. And we are going to create a new login. So I could generate a password is probably what I'm going to do, honestly. So let's copy this, copy my password, and we need an email address to sign in. And then for the WordPress login, you'll need an email address and a password. This can be a different password from your Siteground login. And again, this is something that you want to make sure it is a very secure password and that you definitely do not forget this, because if you forget it, it'll be very hard to get back into your website. And just trust me, it saves a lot of time if you don't forget this. So I will then click continue, and it's going to start installing it. Actually, one last thing, it's going to ask if we want to add any extras. Again, I don't want the site scanner right now. I do want domain privacy. I must have accidentally deselected that before I completed the purchase, but let's just go and pay now for this one. So I do have domain privacy on here, and then that will actually go to the next step, and it'll be installing and creating our website. Okay, so just like that, we're all set and ready to go, and that's pretty much everything we want to do on Siteground. So the next step, we already have domain and hosting. The next step is to go to WordPress, and the way to do this is actually very easy. You'll just type in your domain, so Santrel surfshop.com/wp-admin. So this is going to bring you to a little login page for WordPress, and this is where, like I said, you need to remember that username and that password. So I'm going to type in my email, it's mike@santrelmedia.com, and then put that password in there. I'm going to say remember me, and we will say login. And this one here looks a little bit different than it will in the future because this is like your welcome page the first time you're doing this. In the future, it'll just jump right into your WordPress dashboard, which you'll see what that looks like in a second. So I'm going to click on Start Now. It's going to ask me if we want a theme. I'm going to skip all of this right now. I really don't want to choose a theme yet. So if we go to the bottom, it'll have the option to skip, or we'll go to exit, and that'll get us out of this little welcome thing right here. Okay, so this is a dashboard, and like I said, every time you log in from your domain.com/wp-admin, it will take you to this in the future. And really, this is where everything is going to happen from now on. Everything we've done up to this point is really a one-time thing, but here is going to be somewhere that you come back to a lot. Okay, so now that we're on the dashboard right here, you can see on the left side, we have quite a few different options. We're gonna go through those throughout this video, but really the first thing we wanna do is set up a theme. So picking a theme, we wanna do is go down to Appearance on the left side, and if you just hover over that, you can see Themes. So we'll go over and click on Themes. And by default, your website does come with some themes. It comes with 3 different ones right here. And you definitely could use these if you wanted to, although there are many other themes out there. So there's really no reason to feel stuck with these. So I'm going to go up to the top and say Add New. So Add New, you can see you can upload a theme if you purchased one somewhere else on some other site, or you can just look through this library here, and there are tons of free ones as well as paid ones you can choose from. So if I go to Astra is a very popular one. Type in Astra, and you can see right there, this is a free one that we can install. Of course, you could preview it if you click on Details and Preview, and it'll show you a lot about what it'll look like. They'll tell you about how it works, how things are structured, and things like that. So if I just hit the little X button here, I can go and say Install. So on the bottom, we'll click the little blue button. It installs, takes about a second to do that, and then you have to make sure you don't forget this step. You go and click Activate. Otherwise, you have Astra, but it's not being used. So once you activate it, you'll see it'll kick you back to the themes page, and now this is the one that is active. We still have the other themes, but they're not being used on our website. So because this is now the active one, so at this point, we can actually go into a new tab and go to our website, and you'll see that we have something there. It's not just a white page, and there is some structure. You can see you have a bit of a header on the top, a little column on the right side, but it's far from what we want. And rather than building this from scratch, which would take a massive amount of time, it's a lot easier if we start from a template. And so in order to do that, I'm going to close out of this tab, and you'll see if we go on the left side down to Astra Options, you'll be able to go on the right side here, and you can install Importer plugin. Now this is going to allow you to install a total, basically an entire website with some dummy images and dummy text that you can then replace, and it just saves you a lot of time and a lot of structuring for your website. So if we go and install that Importer template, or plugin rather, it'll take a second, it'll activate it, and then it'll bring you to this page right here. All right, now here you'll see that we have 4 different options, which brings us to the next phase of this video. So when you're actually building a website on WordPress, of course you have a theme, but another thing you have is actually a builder, which makes it very easy to essentially drag and drop elements onto your website. So this is really what makes it very, very easy to make a website. And while all of these are very capable options like Beaver Builder, Gutenberg, if you want to use those, go ahead and use them. But in this video, we are using Elementor. I've actually made a full tutorial on this in the past. We're going to cover some of the basics in this video, but the good news is at the end of this video, if there's anything more advanced you want to learn about how to use Elementor, I'll put a link in the description below, and you guys can head over and see that full tutorial. But with that being said, I'll definitely show you everything you'll need to know in this video. But you can see right here, it brings us to a big library of different Elementor related themes, templates rather, that we can use. Now, if you go down, you'll see that really all of these look pretty great. They're really well built already, and they require very little customization other than just like add your own text, add your own images. But of course, you want to keep in mind which one is going to make the most sense for your brand. What's the right, essentially, feel of your website? You don't have to worry so much about the images because they're easy to replace, but of course the fonts and overall style would be very different. So for example, this one right here, the oldest bar in London, that theme might not be the best if you're doing a surf shop. So it's generally easier if you find something that's a little bit more similar to what you're trying to do. And so let's scroll down and see if we find anything even remotely similar to outdoor sports or a surf shop. Another thing to note is on the top, if you click the little thing that says all, the little drop down, you can choose a couple things. So I chose free, and we're only going to look at free ones right now, although there are some great premium ones that I highly recommend checking out. But we can also go to eCommerce. So we want free, we want eCommerce. That's really the goal of what we're looking for here. And you can see that the structures here definitely make a lot more sense for what we're trying to do as a surf shop. So I'm actually just going to go with this one right here. This little organic store is what it's called. And it looks like a pretty basic, really simple website. So we're going to click on this, and it'll show you what the different pages look like, the About Us, Get in Touch. And if we like this, we can go and import the complete site. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now, import complete site. And it's going to say, I'm on WordPress. It's going to ask us some questions. I'm building a website for myself. We're going to say next. So now it's going to take a few minutes to import this theme, but it gives us a huge head start when we're actually making the website. Okay, and just like that, it's ready to go. We can then close this out, and in a new tab, let's go back to our website. So if we go to our site now, it should be showing something much better. So now look at that. We already have a full-blown website right here. It's obviously an organic store, so not exactly what we wanted, but it's giving us a really nice design, and it'll save us so much time to not have to create these little boxes and icons and text, and everything is just already in the right location. So with that being said, we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay. So if we go back to our dashboard on WordPress, you'll see that the left side looks a little bit different now. We're now seeing products and analytics and marketing and WooCommerce and cart flows and a lot of other stuff. So that little process right there of getting the theme that was e-commerce related, it really made sense because it was bringing a lot of things together that we otherwise would have had to get anyway. So we would have had to get Elementor, we would have had to get WooCommerce, and if we go down here to plugins, you'll see that it's going to show that a lot of the plugins that we were going to get anyway are already here. So they imported WooCommerce, we already got Elementor right there, and so that's going to save us time that we didn't have to go and do those separately. But if you chose a different template, if you chose one that didn't come with WooCommerce, what you would do is actually go down to plugins, as we are right here, and on the top you'll say add new plugin. So we're going to add a new plugin. You can then search for WooCommerce, so you can go search for WooCommerce, and we'll say enter. And you'll see that WooCommerce is right there. It's what we already have, it's already active, but if it's not for you, you can go and install that and then click activate to make sure that you actually have that and it's being used. All right, so we're making some really good progress. We already have a domain, we already have a website, we have a theme, we have a builder, we have pretty much everything we need, and now all that's left is to understand the tools we have and actually go through the customization process of adding your own text and adding your own images, which is really the next step. So starting off on the WordPress dashboard, I want to walk you through some of the tools we have so you better understand where things are, and this can become a little bit less intimidating. So starting off on the top left side, you can see my dashboard, and in your dashboard you have home, which is just your basic dashboard, which gives you a couple options that you really won't be spending a whole lot of time here. Then we have updates, and this is something you want to check periodically. As your website goes through time, you want to make sure that you're going through here and updating your plugins, updating your themes, to make sure that you have the most recent version of everything, to make sure everything works well together, so that you have no security issues. There's a lot of reasons why you want to keep your website up to date, but this is where you'd be doing that. Then going down, we have posts. Now, posts is going to essentially be any type of blog article. If you want to make an article about literally anything, if we're doing a surf website right here, we could do how to surf, we can make them about how to take care of your surfboard, how to install fins, how to wear a leash. It doesn't matter what it is, you can add any blog you want, and it's very easy to do and manage them from right here. As you start to get more and more blog posts, you'll see that they'll show up here as a list, and it's another great way to kind of manage them and make sure that they're up to date. You can go and sort by date or author and see really a lot of information in a really compact space here. We'll talk about how to actually create a blog post later on in this video. You just go to add new, and I'll show you exactly how to construct that later. But we also have categories and tags. Now, categories are very important. When you make a blog post, it's going to, by default, be labeled as uncategorized. And so adding a category does help to manage your menus and things like that. It really is useful. So again, we'll talk about that later on, but just keep in mind that posts right here is where you would go to actually manage that. Then we have media. You really don't have to spend much time here, but this is where it might be easier just to bulk upload all of the images you have, your logo, and any photos you have that you know you're going to use on your website. And sometimes it's easier just to upload those right here. Otherwise, we'll upload them when we need them later on in the video. Pages is a very important one, and this is one that you want to look at. By default, it gave us a lot of pages. It gave us some that maybe we don't care about. So if we go through this, you'll see that we have like my account, privacy policy, sample page, shop, contact, and like some of these are very important. Obviously, we need a cart page, but let's just say we don't want a privacy policy. Maybe instead we'll make that or include that in a different page. If you want to delete any page on here, we can just select that, and we can go to trash. It'll move it to the trash can, and then we can empty our trash can later on, and we don't have to worry about that page anymore. So now that page is gone, we can also add new pages, which I will show you in a second. This one is very important, and we'll talk about how to actually build them with Elementor. But continuing on with the tools, comments is going to be essentially any blog post you have. If you enable comments on like the bottom, similar to a YouTube video really, people can leave comments, and every now and then comments are going to be spam. Sometimes they're not real people, they're just like internet trolls, or there's some kind of bot, and you can go through and manage those here and really filter them out and mark them as spam. And it's a good way to manage the contents or the comments without having to go to each individual article. We have cart floats right here, which may not be necessary, but I'm going to keep it anyway. This is a plugin that came when we got the theme. It integrates with WooCommerce, and it gives us apparently a better checkout experience. So we'll check that out later on in this video. And then we can go down to WooCommerce. Now, WooCommerce is really where we're going to be spending a lot of time in this video. And, sorry, didn't mean to click around twice like that. This is where we can add products, we can manage sales, track inventory, do some marketing stuff. A lot of stuff like that is going to be done right in here. And this is really going to be the next step before we start adding those pages, before we add blog posts. I want to make sure that we have all of our products and everything organized as well as possible. And so you see the next couple things are related to WooCommerce with products, analytics, and marketing. But then I just want to touch on the other ones really quickly before we get back into WooCommerce. You can see the Elementor settings are right here. If you ever want to upgrade to Elementor Pro, you can do that down here. And it does give you quite a few benefits as well, with some more little items you can drag and drop onto your page, and more customization and more freedom that you can do. I have Elementor Pro on quite a few other websites of mine, and I do recommend it. But of course, it's certainly not necessary. It's free to start. It's free to use forever if you want to. And, you know, it's just there. If you ever want to upgrade it, it'd be very easy to do here. We can go down to templates, and this is going to be essentially if you have a blog post and you consistently use a very similar style on there, it saves you a lot of time if you make a template and then you apply that to the blog posts. That way, anytime you make a post, it's going to, by default, just use the title up here, the author here, maybe the featured image above that. You can include all kinds of things like that, a disclaimer on all of them. It's a really great way to save time, especially if you plan on making a lot of posts. You can use templates for other things as well, but blog posts is really what I think is the most common and most practical use from my experience. We have themes. Right here we have appearance, which has themes, has customization, some widgets, the menus, so the navigation menu on the top. All of that we'll customize later on in the video. And of course, I already showed you where plugins were. But the other ones, of course, we have users there, and users is going to allow you to add other team members or other employees of yours that you can then give access. And there are several different ways you can add access. So right now, I'm an administrator. By default, you are too when you make a website. But you can add several different roles. And I'll put a link below if you guys want to know the different roles. But you can add editors, contributors, authors, like subscribers. I believe another one is just like a moderator. Like a lot of different roles that you can assign to people that give them different access to different tools. So some of them can only write, some of them can upload images, some, all types of stuff like that. Like I said, I'll leave more information about that down below in case you guys have a team. And of course, we have tools, settings, and some other little security options on the bottom. So that's everything on the left side. Obviously, a lot of functionality. And we're going to go through these one at a time in order with really what makes sense as we're building this online store. So really the next step is to go into WooCommerce, and we want to start building this store and adding our products in here. So from here, if we just go down to products, we can see that we have by default a lot of products, the ones that came with this theme, and I don't want any of these. So I'm going to select all of these products, and we can just go and delete all of them. So I can go to bulk actions, we can move them to trash and say apply. And this will get rid of all the products that are on the website right now, which I highly recommend you do so you don't accidentally end up selling hand-picked red chili peppers if that's not what you actually have for sale. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is actually to start adding products to this website. And so you can see on the left side, the obvious place to go is going to be in products. And of course, we have a couple options there. But if we just click on products, it'll bring us to this page right here, and we'll be able to add new products. So right there, I'm going to click add new. And the good thing is, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, there are many different types of products you can add. So I'm going to talk about 6 different types of products you can add on here. And of course, each one has really limitless possibilities. So you can really make anything you want and sell almost any style of product on here, from digital products to, as you can see right down here, group products, affiliate products, variable products, and I'll explain what all of those mean in just a second. But we're going to start off with the first one, the simple product, which is the default there right away. And a simple product is the easiest to understand. That's going to be essentially anytime you want to sell an individual item. If you just want to sell, and of course you can have multiple quantities of that, but I just mean a product that doesn't have any variations. It's a physical product. You're going to ship it. So for example, if you want to sell like a surfboard leash, or if you want to sell like surf wax, I think that's the example I'm going to use right here. So as we're a surf shop, I'm going to say surf wax or surfboard wax. And so here we can have the title, and the title, I would recommend making it a little bit longer than this, but keep in mind that whatever you make, it's going to make that the default permalink, and we can actually edit that as well. So if I want to say surf wax, so like surfboard wax, and I'm going to say maybe this is like a couple ounces, like medium size stick, and then you can see right here, we can edit what the permalink actually is. Now the permalink is, you want that to be short, concise, easy to read so that somebody can identify what the site is that they're on, as well as make it very easily shareable, easy to index for Google. Keeping it nice and short like this is really a good way to do that. So now we have a title of the product, we have a permalink, and now we can go down here and add essentially our whole description. Now I'm just going to paste some Latin dummy text here, but keep in mind that within this description you can make some different things bold, you can make things italic, you can do whatever you want. So the normal hotkeys work there, but you also have these tools right up here as well. And so this is something, it's a very similar editor to what you see on maybe say eBay, for example. And so you're able to add a lot to this. It doesn't have to just be plain text. And I really recommend going through this. And if you want to add some little headers in there, some different stuff like that. So maybe like heading 4, so maybe like warranty. You can add all types of stuff on here and really do whatever you want. But for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to spend time really filling this out because there's just so many different things you might want to put there. I'll let you guys do that on your own. But like I said, keep in mind, you have a lot of tools here. So make this look however you'd like it to look. As we go down, you can see that we can start customizing the product itself. So as I said, we have multiple options for the product type. We are sticking with a simple product. This is not virtual. This is not downloadable. We'll talk about those in just a second. But we have a lot of options on the left side here. So starting off with the price, the regular price for this wax, let's just say normally it's maybe like $11.99. And then you can have a sale as well. So a lot of times people do this to kind of incentivize a purchase or make people feel better about what they're buying. So maybe instead of $11.99, we can sell it for $9.99, or you can actually do this as a scheduled promotion. So if you want this to happen for the next maybe 4 or 5 months, you can very easily say maybe starting in a couple days, we'll list that and then we'll end that in October. So now we have a scheduled sale. Just keep in mind when it ends, you're gonna have to come back and actually update that if you want to go back on sale. Otherwise, it'll be going right back to that regular price. We can then go down to inventory, and this is going to allow us to create a stock keeping unit. If you're not selling many items, you might not care as much about this, but as you start to sell more and more products, it's really generally considered best practice to have SKUs. I mean, pretty much every company I've ever worked with has had one, so we're gonna make one for this product right here. We're gonna call it like maybe 10,001. And now we can also enable stock management as well. So we can choose what quantity we have. And if you have other software to do this, then you obviously won't need this right here and you can deselect that. But I'm just gonna say we have maybe like 500 of these. And once we sell out, we could say we don't want to allow back orders. Maybe you have a long lead time on your orders and you don't want back orders to build up and have disappointed customers, or you could allow them to build up, but just notify the customer that, hey, like we're back ordered, I'll get them to you soon, but just keep in mind it might be like a month or two, right? So allowing would make sense if you have like a really quick turnaround, but really I think I'm gonna leave this on don't allow. Also, low stock threshold, we could say that we have a store-wide threshold that we can set somewhere else, or you can set your own and say, like, notify me whenever it gets to a certain amount. So whenever we get to like 5, that's the threshold of low stock and you are notified. Then we can go down here, enable this only to allow, if you want to only allow one of this per order, and that's if you have some type of limitation. So for example, in the United States right now, a lot of companies have a limitation on like ammunition because there's a shortage of that. So it makes sense that in some situations, you want to limit how many can be purchased. So we don't really care how many of our surfboard wax you purchase, so I'm going to leave that unchecked. Then we can go down to shipping. Now, this one, I highly recommend you do a little bit of research. I assume most people probably already did if they're selling stuff, and you want to know with what, who you're going to ship with, whether that's like DHL or UPS or FedEx or whatever company it might be. You want to know who it's going to be. You want to know what the classes are you can ship with, and you want to know like how much your product is actually going to weigh and what box it's going to fit in. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to say it weighs like a quarter pound, and right now it says kilograms. We're going to switch over to pounds as the US units in a second, but type it in as if it were pounds right now. Don't worry about the units, and I'll go and change the units in just a minute. Now, as far as the dimensions go, let's just say maybe this is like 4 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches. That's a relatively small box. And again, it says centimeters. Don't worry about that. We will be working in inches in just a second. Now, shipping class, I'm just going to ignore that for now. We didn't actually configure that yet, but we're going to be continuing down here. Linked products would be essentially if you have another product that you want to upsell or cross-sell, essentially show next to this one as like a suggestion for somebody to buy. So being that this is surfboard wax, maybe you have like a nice little container to hold the wax, or maybe you have some type of accessory to grip the wax so it doesn't get on your hands. I don't know what it might be, but if you have another product, you could list that here. Because this is the first product on the site, we can't do that right now. We can come back later and do that if we want, but for now, I'm going to skip this, and we will talk about this a little bit later on in the video. Going down to attributes, this one is not especially important here because this is a simple product. If you wanted to add any attributes, say like we have like color or scent maybe, I don't know. We could add one, let's just say it's like scent, and we might have like raspberry, lime, and I don't know, maybe like orange. I don't know, just something like that. And so we could save that, right? We could save that, but that's not really going to provide us a whole lot of value because it is a simple product, and we're not really looking to have different variations. But I just want to show you guys that's where you would add those attributes. And of course, we can't actually use those right now. We don't have variations on here because, like I said, it is a simple product. So instead, I'm going to just remove those attributes. We don't actually need those right now, but I'm just showing you guys essentially what that is in case you were wondering. As we get on to advanced, you can have some purchase note right there, menu order, and you can enable or disable reviews. If for some reason you don't want reviews on your website, you could very easily remove that. We can go down to cart flows. This is what I said before was that little plugin, so I'm actually not going to worry about that right now. And we also have some other options down here as well. If you want to learn more about any one of these, so like a one-page checkout, additional variation images, stuff like that, you can go into any one of those as some other extensions. I'm not going to talk about those in this video. Now we can go down to the product short description. So up here we have essentially the longer description. We can have a little short description down here. I'm just going to take like maybe like a one sentence right there, and we can go down and keep that as the shorter one. Okay, and then so now that we have our short description, again, you'll notice that we don't have any images of the product yet, and the product obviously needs images. That's very important to sell anything, and you'll see on the right side, we have quite a few more options as well. So we'll kind of work from the bottom up here. Product gallery, of course, if you have multiple images, you can start adding them here. I currently only have one image for each product for the example in this video. So I'm just going to set a product image right there. I already uploaded that here so you can see our little surf wax. We're going to select that, and we're going to set the product image. So that's the product image right now. And of course, you could update that or edit that however you want. And I'm not going to change anything on that right now. Then we can go to Astra settings. If you're using a different theme, obviously the theme name will appear here, or possibly not, depending on the theme you're using. But for Astra, we have these settings right here. So when you're looking at the product, you can customize like where the sidebar is. You can have all types of things. Let's deselect that. You can disable things like the primary header. You can disable the title if you want. You can disable a footer. You can do all types of different things down here. And again, once you start seeing the product on the page, you'll start to want to customize that a little bit more. But for now, we're going to skip over that and touch on how the website actually looks later on in the video. And then here we have product tags. This is really going to be more important for finding similar products on your site, or if you have any search functionality and you want to have like a little search bar to find different products, that would be relevant here. So for best practice purposes, I usually just add it anyway. I usually add at least a couple, so we could say like wax, surf wax, and then maybe surf wax is one word if somebody did that. And of course, maybe a brand or whatever, and you separate them all with commas. So we're going to say add. It adds those three little tags. And then up here we can go and we'll see categories. Now, the categories, groceries and juice, remember that the theme we were using originally, or the template rather, did have some sample products. We are not using those sample products. So instead, we want to go and add our own category. So for this one, we're going to say surf accessories. And that is going to be the category. We don't want a parent category, but you could make this a subcategory of something. And we're going to say, yes, we're ready to add that new category. And then lastly, you can see up here that we have a couple options about the visibility. So it's ready to be published. It'll be public. And right now it is a draft, but we are ready. As soon as we click publish, it will be a public published a product right here. But we could also enable or disable the catalog visibility, and that only makes sense for a group product. We'll talk about that later on in the video. But for now, I'm just going to say publish, and that is our first product. It is a simple product, and it's ready to go. So we can go and actually view the product as soon as it's done being published. Right now, it is still publishing, but we can go up there and say view product, and it'll bring us right over here to see what it actually looks like. So there you go. Just like that, it actually was incredibly easy just by adding the information right there. We now have a really nice looking page where we can zoom in on the product. You see the title of it right there. You see the price. Of course, right now it is not on sale because remember we did that on a schedule, but starting in like I think 2 or 3 days, you will be seeing that listed as $9.99. Of course, there's our little short description. And then down here, our longer description. Additional information also shows like the weight and the dimensions. And of course, we can see the reviews since we did enable reviews on here. So that's pretty much everything you'll need to see on the individual simple product page. Now we can actually go back and start adding some different products because honestly, not everything is going to be this straightforward. So for example, if you want to sell something like t-shirts or a wetsuit or something that has multiple sizes, we're going to want to use a different style. So let's go back to where we were. So just click on back. It'll take us back here, and we can actually start adding a new product. So if we go to add new on the left side, we'll add a new product. And our new product, let's say that this time, instead of using a simple product, we may instead want to use a variable product. So down here, a variable product is, like I said, going to allow you to have some other options in there. So for this one, let's just say it is a surfboard leash. And so for anyone who doesn't know about surfboarding, this is like the little rope essentially that goes from your ankle to the surfboard to make sure that if you fall, the surfboard doesn't go away from you and you can just pull it back from your ankle. And so again, we're gonna paste some little text down here as our description. Really nothing special there. We can see that right here, our surfboard leash is, already making that permalink, so that looks good as well. We can go down here and start adding a stock keeping unit. So we're gonna call this one 10,002. We can manage it down here. We can say that we have quantities of maybe like 200 of these. We don't want to allow back orders, regular threshold, everything's ready to go. Shipping, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go through all this stuff one by one. So shipping, let's just say that again, this is maybe like 1 pound and we want it to be a very small box. Maybe it's going to be like 4 by 4 by 4. And we can go to linked products. Again, we don't want any linked products, but maybe, maybe we do want to have an upsell or a cross sell. So let's just look up what we had before. So if we said surf wax right there, we can have that as a cross sell. And so when I actually publish this, you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about when I say cross sell and what that looks like. We can then go down to attributes, and this is where we start to have the benefits of a variable product. So the first attribute we might want to add would maybe be, let's just say we want to have like the length. So we could say length, and we could have a couple different lengths of this. We could say maybe somebody wants like a little 4-foot leash, maybe we want a 5-foot leash, 6-foot leash, and we'll just do like a couple different sizes. I mean, I don't know, yeah, that looks fine to me. And we can also select this little box right here, use for variations. So because this is a variable product, we want to have variations of it. And so these attributes are going to be more than just plain attributes. They're actually going to be the variations that we will be using. So we're going to save the attributes now, and you'll see in the very next one, variations, we can go and add variations, and we can create variations from all attributes. So the little drop-down menu, and then say go, and it's going to say, we're going to say okay, and it's going to create 4 or I believe 5 different variations there. Oh, and it looks like we accidentally made those all one variation. So if we go back to attributes, I believe I read the instructions incorrectly. You're supposed to be using the little separation bar instead of a comma. So instead, I'm going to use this little separation bar. So we have 4 feet, 5 feet, we've got 6 feet, and 7 feet, and of course 8 feet as well. So I actually removed and just re-added all of them because like I said, I forgot the attributes little separation bar. I used a comma instead. So I removed them, and then I just re-added, like I said, to just import all of them as we did up here. And so now that we have the 5 different variations, we can actually go in and customize each individual one of those. And so when I say customize, you can really change a lot about this. So if we click on the little expand button on the right side, you can see that we have a stock keeping unit we can add. We can have an image for them, a regular price, a sale price. Again, you can schedule the sale price for individual ones. You can change the weight, the dimensions, the shipping class, and of course the description as well. And you can do that for all of these as well. And of course, if you have, and we'll get into this in a second, if you have another type of attribute besides just size, maybe if you have color or something like that, you can have a massive permutation of different attributes, as you can see right here, different variations rather. And so we'll get into that in just a second, but let's start off with these 5 different variations, just being the length. And I'm going to start to populate this. So we're going to start off the stock keeping unit. Let's say this is 10,003. 10,003. It is enabled. You could disable this if you wanted to. And we're not actually going to manage stock, but you could, very easily just click that and manage the stock of this as well. We're going to add a price. So let's say this is $12.99, but it's on sale right now for $11.99. The weight, I'm just going to add ones here because it doesn't actually matter right now. Of course, it does matter for your actual product, but I mean, for this tutorial, it's not especially important. And then, of course, we can have some dummy text right here for the description. And so I'm just going to copy that and paste it a few times. And so that's everything for the first variation. We're going to upload an image to make sure that people can see what it is that they're trying to buy. So let's go and upload an image right now. And I believe I have a surf leash right there. Variable length surf leash. And I'm going to use the same image over and over. It's not recommended, of course, because different attributes, you want to use different images that actually relate to what the product is. But again, because this is just a tutorial, I'll be reusing that image right there. So then we can go and collapse this. So we're good on this one. We're going to then click the little expand button. And now let's go down to the next one. Now I'm going to do all this right now. So just give me like maybe 5-10 seconds. And I will have all of these ready to go. All right, so we now have all the different variations down here. We can then add the product short description, so just like something a little simple like that, like I said. And maybe in here we want to add a link to santrelmedia.com. Right, so something simple like that. We're just going to add a link. And then we can go over here and set the product image. Of course, we already set the variation images, so if you didn't want individual variation images, you could instead just use the single product image as you see over here. And of course, you can see the product gallery as we had before, and a lot of the same settings on the right side. We can add tags here, so this is going to be surf leash. There we go, and we're going to add those. And then we're ready to go. We can actually add that to surf accessories and say publish. So we now have our second product pretty much ready to go. And as we go and view this product, you'll see that the variations really pop up in a very convenient way. It's one of the reasons that I really like using WooCommerce with the Astra theme. Like, it really works together very, very well in my opinion. So if we go and view the product, you can see here that we have the surf leash right there. You can then have a drop down to choose the option or the length. And with each one, you'll see our little description there. Of course, I made that way too long, but it tells you how many are in stock. It tells you the price, and you can see that we have a difference in price on the top. It's going to show you the entire variety. So I think one of them I made like $2.85. The other one I made $220. So let's say I think this one was really expensive. No, this is $220. And then this one is $2.85. So you can make different prices for different variations. And of course, depending on how expensive things are to buy for you and what the margins are going to be, and depending on how rare or whatever things are going to be, how hard they are to ship, you can very easily change the price accordingly. And I think that's a really nice feature to have. So a variable product, that's a really simple way to make a variable product. Now, if we want to say that instead we want to make, let's make another variable product, but add a little bit more than just one attribute. So if I click the back button, it should take me back to where the products were, where we were editing that product. And again, I'm going to say add a new product. And now let's say instead of something that just has one dimension, so for example, the surf leash with the length, now we want to sell a wetsuit. And let's say the wetsuit has a couple different sizes and options and maybe different colors. So let's actually go and do that right now. So we can go down to attributes. And we want to say, we want to add a new one. So let's add a new attribute. And this one's going to be size. And size is going to be small. And remember, you want to use the little vertical separator. Medium, large, extra large, right? So there's one set of attributes. We can save that. Now we can have the second one might be like fit. So this one could be fit. And so here we could have regular. We could have tall. We could have plus. And you can add whatever else you want as well. So I'm going to save that. And let's say lastly, the other one we want to add would be maybe color. So we want to add, so let's say color. And here we can have black. We can have blue. And maybe we have a white wetsuit as well. Okay, so now we want to make sure that we're selecting variable product. We have our different attributes, and you want to make sure that on each one, you go and select use for variations. Don't forget to do that. And once we have that, we can go down to variations and create our little permutation of, we have 3, 3, and 4. So we're gonna have a lot of different variations here, looking at probably around 36 different ones. So if we go first, let's say save attributes, then we can go to variations. And again, you want to select from the dropdown, create variations from all attributes. So I'm going to say go, and we're going to say OK on the top, and it's going to take a second until it makes all of these. I'm not going to add different prices to each individual one. I'm just going to make sure that they're all like the same price. I'm not going to add different images. But again, this is something that you probably do want to do. You want to make sure that things are really fleshed out, but it does take a lot of time. And so for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to save you guys from that. I'm not going to go and put all that in, but just understand that that is how you'd go about doing that. Now, of course, we also have our short description. It looks like it's really taking a while to make this little permutation here. So let's just give it a second. And there we go. 36 variations have been added. So let's say OK. And you can see here we have all the different variations here of small, regular, black. And so we could say, maybe we want to kind of bundle everything. We could just say any color, any fit, anytime it's small. Essentially, you want to say that when it is small, the regular price is going to be like $25. So we're going to say $25. And then down here we can say anytime it is a medium, and it doesn't matter the fit, it doesn't matter the color, then we can go down here and make a different price. So we can say anytime it's a medium, the price is going to be $28. This is actually incredibly cheap for a wetsuit. Maybe we should make it $128 and $125. I don't know. Don't take any of this stuff as real. This is all just an example, of course. But as we go down, let's do the same thing for large. So anytime is large. It doesn't matter the fit, doesn't matter the color. We want to make sure that they are $150, but maybe they're on sale. Only this one's on sale, and we can make it for $138. And then lastly, we have the extra large, and we're going to add extra large, and this would be any fit, any color, and we can say that anytime this is true, it's going to be $148. So now we can go down and actually save our variation. So let's save. And we'll be ready to go then. So we have all our variations. They're being saved. Hopefully we don't have any issues with that. It'll give us a little message if we do. It looks like we're ready to go. And so 32 variations do not have prices. That's just what it says right now. But we'll actually go in and we should be able to see the prices. Now, going down here, we can add our short description. Like I said, I don't want to add too many details to all the different variations, but we can add our short description, just leave it something like that. We can set product image as well. So now let's go and upload a file. Again, this is just like the general image. You want to have this image. If I was actually doing a store and I was selling wetsuits, I think in this image, I would like to show at the very least, all the different colors in one image rather than just one. But again, because I don't actually sell these things, I'm just going to use a picture of a single wetsuit, and that's going to get the job done for us right now. So that's pretty much everything I want to see right here. Of course, I didn't flesh out all the other information. You guys can definitely do that on your own time, but really just demonstrating all the different variations here. Let's go and publish this product and see what it actually looks like when we go to view the product. So it's going to take a second to publish that. Now we can go to view this product. This is the wetsuit. And here you can see that we have from $125 to $148. We can choose the options we want. So a small, regular, black one, it's going to be $125. So see, it was lying when it said before that we didn't have prices for all of them. We already do have prices for all of them. That was just a little glitch in the software, I believe, because like I said, we said anytime it's small, it doesn't matter the fit, doesn't matter the color, $125. Now if we say it's like extra large, $148. And of course, like I said, you don't have to set the price purely based on size. You could say, for example, anytime it's extra large and it is a plus size, maybe that costs a little bit more to make, a little bit more material there, you can make that a higher price if you wanted to. But that's all stuff that you can customize on the back end. Again, very, very powerful with WordPress, WooCommerce, and Astra. Really makes it a very easy and very powerful to sell all types of different products, all types of different variations, and really do whatever you want. So it's all, that's, again, I know I keep saying this, but it is very exciting, and I like just talking about this in general because it is such a powerful software, and it's amazing that it's so accessible and free to use. So I'm gonna click the back button. So far we've gone through a simple product and two different types of variable products with the simple one, or we could do a variable product where we have tons of different layers of attributes. And so now let's go and talk about a different style of product altogether. So rather than just the simple product or the variable product, let's say that it's not a product you're actually going to be able to ship. Maybe instead it's going to be something somebody else ships. For example, an external or affiliate product. So this is a great way to essentially, I see this most with creators, anybody who is an influencer, a creator, a blog, anything like that. It's very likely that you'll be using affiliate links or affiliate products at least somewhere throughout your journey. And so it's nice that you can list them rather than just like a little link to click or a banner or something like that. It's really nice that you can list it as a product on a store that then redirects people over to another site. So this would be a great way if I have an actual surf shop and let's just say there's some software that I don't sell, but I know another company does sell it and I can get an affiliate link with them, then maybe I want to list this on my site, and this link will be an affiliate link. It'll send the customer over to the store for the other brand, and then I will get a commission if they make that purchase. So it's something that, of course, is not for everybody. Not every store or online site in general is going to use this, but if you know a lot about affiliate links and affiliate products, this is a very exciting thing to have. So let's do an example right here. Let's just say if we go to Amazon and we find like a surf. Let's just type in surf and see what we see. So maybe a surfboard trainer. Yeah, maybe a trainer is a good idea. So right here is going to be a surf and paddleboard trainer. It's not something that I plan to sell on this site. I'm just going to copy the link here. Of course, what you'd actually want to do is have an affiliate link. This is clearly not an affiliate link. This is just the regular link to get to this product, but I'm just going to copy it and use it for demonstration purposes. So we can go and paste the product URL. We can have the button say buy product, or it can say like buy product on Amazon. So buy product on Amazon. I usually like that better, so it tells people where they're going to be redirected. We can tell them what the regular price was. What was the price on that one? It looks like $170, so $169.95. Sorry, turned off numlock. $169.95, and it doesn't have a sale price right now. But we can add, again, if we want to add an image down here, and I highly recommend you do all this stuff. So let's just say for now, maybe we want to like copy a little bit of text from here. And of course, depending on what your affiliate product is, you really want to talk with whoever the seller is to make sure that they're okay with you doing this. In most situations, people are because it's free traffic for them. But you know, you want to talk with whoever the affiliate host is, whoever the actual seller is, to make sure you're not breaking any rules. Now you can go down and check the inventory. It really doesn't matter here, of course, because it is an affiliate product. You can have linked products and upsell. So again, if we want to upsell a product that we already have, so let's just say maybe we want to upsell like a surf leash, for example, or like maybe a 5-foot surf leash, we can upsell that right here. We can go down and check out some attributes which aren't really relevant for this product. The advanced stuff are not relevant, not really relevant. And so that's pretty much everything you want to see with this one. It's really simple and straightforward. You can add some tags and do everything we do on the right side. So let's say like trainer. And maybe we want to add this to, so let's say add, and we want to add this to surf accessories category on our website. And then lastly, we do want a product image. I don't have an image for this one, so instead we're just going to use, let's just use this image for now. It really doesn't matter. You guys will get the idea. And so then we can actually go and publish this product as well. So the good thing is affiliate products, I actually didn't add any description there. Let's add that. But the good thing is affiliate products are really easy to use. And there's something that I highly recommend to certain brands, but like I said, not every brand is going to use this. And so let's take a look at what it looks like. But let's first actually go and say surfboard trainer. We're going to add some description text right there. This down here was a short description, so I didn't actually mean to add quite that much text. And now let's go up here and update that. So we click on update. So you'll notice that it already says it's published, it's public, it's ready to see. We can actually go and update that. You want to make sure you don't forget to click that whenever you make changes. And now we can actually go and view the product. I'm actually going to hold Control and click. It does make it a little easier because it opens it in a new tab. And so you see right here that it says buy product on Amazon. It has a little short description. We have our image right there, and we have our description below. So if somebody clicks on that link, that would be our affiliate link, and it'll take them right to Amazon. Really a cool feature. If you were going to build this from scratch, it would be a little bit more cumbersome to do. And so again, very, very easy, very convenient. And a lot of other competitors out there don't make it nearly as easy to do affiliate stuff on there. So for example, something like Shopify, like you can set up some affiliates, but it's a little bit trickier to do. It's not as straightforward as you see with WooCommerce. And again, one of the reasons that this is so versatile. So now we have simple product, we've got variable product, we have variable product that is very complicated, and we have an affiliate product. And all of those are physical products, or I guess all of them are physical products really, but we could make a digital or a downloadable product or a virtual product. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about next. Okay, so let's say next we want to have a digital product, something that's downloadable. And this could be a PDF, this could be like any type of LUT file for editing photos, it could be a music file, it could really be any file you have that you want somebody to download or are going to sell to somebody and they want to download. But for the purposes of this example, I'm going to say it is like, for example, maybe a song. We're going to do a song. So let's just say we want this to be surfing jams, and this can be some music. I don't know if anybody actually listens to music while they're surfing. I don't really know how you would do that without losing a speaker or phone or whatever. But whatever, we're just going to say surfing jams. And again, we have our permalink, we've got our description here, we have a simple product. We selected downloadable now because that'll give you this little field here where we can choose what is downloadable. We're going to add a file, so we can choose the file name, and this is going to be surf jam number one. And we can choose a URL for the file, or we can actually just go, I'm going to choose a file right now. So we're going to upload a file, we're going to select a file, and I don't actually have any songs right here, so I'm just going to use like this image. We're going to pretend that this image is the song, but instead we're just going to use this image. That's going to be the file they download. Like I said, you would actually want to upload an MP3, not a JPEG, but you get the idea. That's the file URL they're going to download. There's no limit on how many downloads they have. It never expires. And we can choose a price for that as well. So we're going to say the price for this one, it's like $1.99. It's on sale right now. It's $1.49 maybe. Let's give it a little sale there. We can look at inventory. Obviously, there's no limit on this, so inventory doesn't make sense. There is no shipping, so you don't have to worry about this either. Linking it, if you want to have an upsell or cross-sell, you can add that. And I realize I actually haven't shown you guys where that is, so let's do a little cross-sell on this one for surf wax maybe. See if we have our surf wax. There it is. So we'll do a cross sell. I will show you guys. I promise I'll show you guys on this one. Then we can go into attributes. No attributes on here. And the rest of it you really don't have to talk about. It's pretty straightforward. You're just going to be downloading an audio file right here as a single song. You can add multiple songs if you have multiple files here. And it's all very easy to do. And of course the product short description. So some jams for surfing. And that's going to show up just below the title on your product. Now we're going to add a product image, and the product image is going to be upload the files, and it's going to be this one right here, which actually is a real album from somebody else, actually a friend of mine that has a band. It's like, so that's why I decided to use that one. So now we can actually go add this to a category. We're going to say surf accessories. Maybe that makes sense here. And we're not going to add any tags to this one. We're going to say publish. And so when we publish this one, like I said, this one's going to be a little bit different because they're downloading the file when they purchase that. And so I'm going to go and view the product. And so here you can say that if you want to order like one copy of this, it really wouldn't make sense for anyone to order more than one of the MP3 because it is a digital file, obviously. But we can add that to our cart. And when you add to your cart, you'll go down here, and this is what I said about those upsells. You can see some other products showing up down here that are related. Or when you actually go to view the cart, you'll see the cross-sell there that says you might also be interested in this right here. So the surf accessories were what we said the cross-sell was, which when somebody goes to the cart, you're just kind of offering something that they might be interested in, and that they could just say, yeah, let's add that to the cart as well. They can click on that, add that to the cart as well, and then when they go over to the cart, they have everything in there. And again, notice that the cart experience is really, really seamless, very easy here. We'll talk about adding coupons, but other than that, it's just a really straightforward way to go about ordering stuff. Now, the digital file, of course, like I said, you don't have anything really going on here. You're not going to have any kind of variations necessarily, so it's a little bit more limiting than a physical product or like a variable product. But at the same time, usually in most situations, you're going to be looking for just a basic file, and it's easier to make multiple downloadable file or products rather than have some variations on one. Of course, if you want to have variations, you could also make it a grouped product as well, and we'll talk about grouped product in a second. But let's next talk about a virtual product. Now, I know virtual product and downloadable product kind of sound similar, but virtual product is more along the lines of a service maybe. So you could think of that as like maybe like a Fiverr gig. If it was like, I will teach you, I'll make like a logo for you, I'll make a website for you. Those would be virtual products that there's no deliverable they can download, but rather it's like a promise for you to do a service digitally. Or it doesn't even have to be digitally, I guess. So if we go back to where we were, actually click back a couple times until we get to where we were making the product. There we go. So let's go and add a new product. Now, again, we have a lot of different types of products here, but let's talk about a virtual product. So let's go down, select this one right here, leave it at simple product, and then go say virtual product. And maybe this one's just going to be something in person even. Like, for example, maybe we want to do surf lessons. And we could say one hour surf lesson. So 1 hour of surfing. There we go. So 1 hour surf lessons with somebody to teach you. We can go down and add that to the short description as well. And here we can say the price is, I don't know, maybe like $49. And we don't have to worry about other things with this one either. So we don't have to worry about attributes or inventory or linked products. I guess linked products if you really want to. So linked product would probably make sense here if you wanted to have two different virtual products. So one of them was lessons and the other one was rental. Then maybe when somebody's getting a rental, you would also kind of upsell them or cross-sell them on the lessons as well. That'd be a great way to do that. But like I said, for the purposes of this one, we're just going to leave it at this and not do anything other than that. Maybe it'll include rentals, and we can go and upload. Here you want an image with this. You don't obviously need an image, but I find that images usually work better when you're trying to communicate that you want to give somebody lessons or something like this. An image really does help to sell your virtual product here. So when we go and publish this one, again, I really didn't flesh this out much at all. This is very, very bare bones here, but when we go and actually view the product, you'll see that it's going to essentially like promise a 1 hour surf lesson, and you'll get the receipt on the back end here, so you'll know who actually ordered that because they're going to add information in the cart. But you could also say, for example, maybe just like bring your receipt with you, and that way like we'll know who you are, we'll be able to give you the lessons, and we'll know that you already paid for it online. And so in this situation right here, it might actually be a good idea to add a form down here. So you can add forms to the bottom so that somebody can actually schedule, or if you're doing lessons like this, really, I think this is a situation where you might want another plugin that would allow people to at least schedule it. But, for the basics, if you generally don't care, if you don't have that many customers that do this online, then it might make sense just to do it like this. But like I said, as you start to grow, and if you're doing virtual products like this, where they come in person, then maybe it would make sense to have a scheduling option available. So again, we're going through a lot of different products here. I know this is moving maybe kind of quickly for you guys, but let's go and add the last one that I really want to talk about. And this one I'm not going to cover too much because it's not something I do especially often, but this is a grouped product. So if we're going to do a grouped product, this could be maybe, for example, if we're selling like surfboard fins, but rather than selling a set, we're selling individual ones. Maybe this isn't the best example, but it was really what I could think of that was at least somewhat related to what we're doing right here, the surf shop. So like I said, rather than selling just a set of like tri-fin, quad-fin setup, maybe you have like individuals like medium fin, large fin, whatever, and you want to sell them individually in case somebody breaks a fin or they don't need to replace all of their fins, then that would be an example there. So hang with me here. You'll see exactly what I mean in just 1 second. But we're going to say surfboard fins, maybe plural if you want. And so here we can add our description. I'm just going to leave that just some dummy text, doesn't actually matter. And we're going to go down and we're going to make this one into a grouped product. Now, the way group product works is essentially you will have a parent product right here and you have several child products underneath. So for example, right here, this is a surfboard fin. That's just the regular grouped product. And then within that, we're going to have like medium fins, small fins, and you can choose how many of each you want to add. So it's not especially different from variable product, but the intent of the product is definitely different. So it makes sense that you're going to be setting it up slightly different here because it is a little bit more advantageous for a specific need. So we're going to actually just kind of save this one for now. I'm actually just going to publish this, and we're going to come back to this in a second because we have to make the child products of the parent product right here. So this is the group product. Now what we want to do is actually go and add a new simple product, but we don't want it to be shown in our catalog. So right now I'm going to say single small fin. And again, I'm not actually sure. I've only ever bought fin sets, so I'm not actually sure how you would list individual fins, if it's by size, inches. I'm not really sure exactly what it would be. But, you know, just for example here, we're going to go through and give some dummy text here as well. And we're going to make this one a simple product. But like I said, we don't want this to actually show up in our catalog. So we're going to go right here, the catalog visibility. So right now it is showing up. We're going to edit this and make sure that it is hidden from all of those. So it's not going to show up. We're going to say OK. And that way it's hidden, but it's still going to be used in the other product we were talking about. So let's go down. Of course, you can add all types of stuff, the price and stuff like that. But I think you guys understand how to do that by now. So I just want to add an image. And I want to, let's go and upload a file here and select, we have a lot of images available. Let's go with this one right here, just surf fins. So obviously this is showing multiple different fins here. So we'd really want to just focus on one. So that's not the best image to use, but you get the idea. And let's just say that this one right here is maybe like $19.99 is the price. And we're going to publish this one. But of course, it's published and it's public and everything, but it is being hidden because we don't want people to just find this product. We want it to be a child product of what we were dealing with before. So if we go back to products, if we just click on products, it'll show us the products that we currently have. And I'll talk more about this in just a second with the stock and everything like that. But if we go to our grouped product here, and we can go down to edit that, let's go and edit the grouped product. And we can go down and start changing, we can start adding the product, the child product to this one. So if we go to linked products, you can see right here, of course, we do have upsells as well, but grouped products is going to be what is available here. So if I just type in fin, it should look for the surf fin, the single small fin that we had. And I'm going to leave that in here. Now we can add an image on here as well, which is generally, you should be doing that as well. So let's go and add, probably that same image would work just fine. And just to really complete this, I'm going to add another child product. I'm going to say the large fin for the bottom as well. So we're going to go and make another simple product, just single regular product. So simple product. I'm just going to kind of brush over this one quickly. I'm not going to add an image. So we're going to say single large fin. And this one, again, we don't want it to be visible in the catalog or in search. So we're going to say OK. We're going to publish this one. I guess I didn't add a price, but you get the idea of how that's going to work. So now we can go back to the grouped product again and add this one to there. So we have small fin, large fin, and of course surfboard fins is the group product, like I said. So we're going to go and edit that one, and we're going to add another grouped product to this one. So we're going to go down to the linked products, and here we're going to add the large fin. So single large fin right there, and we're going to update this. And now when we actually view the product, you'll see that people can order any quantity of any one of these. So if we go to group or view the product, you'll see that showing up pretty similar to what we were doing right here. And we can add like whatever quantity we have. Unfortunately, the large fin, we don't have the quantity there because I didn't actually add the price. So once you add the price, you will be able to do that. So actually, Let me just do that really quickly and show you guys what we're dealing with there. So if we go to products, okay, so here's what I was talking about. So now you can see that we have several different fin sizes, as you can see right there, and people could click on this and learn more about them if they wanted to, but essentially it's going to allow you to choose how many of each one you want. So if you want to get like a full setup, you want 2 small fins and 1 large fin, then that's how you'd go about doing that. You can add them to the cart, and it's going to go in and add those individual products, but remember, they're grouped together right here, and it makes it kind of more convenient, like I said, for some types of products where you want to have those different variations kind of purchased in conjunction. And I think this is really the best example I could come up with when you're dealing with the surfboard setup right here, a surf shop. But of course, plenty of other products out there would make way more sense on how to do this. So for like parts, if you're dealing with a parts company, then it would be very easy to add some different things like this. Or really any combination would make sense as well. If you're trying to buy multiples of something and you have multiple different variations and people are gonna buy like 2 of one of the other, 3 of the different one, then this is a good configuration to use. But those are essentially the 6 main styles of product I wanna show you in this video. And I think that was a really important thing to talk about, which is why I took up a really large portion of this video here. But now we can actually start getting into customizing this website. And I think it's really important that you make at least a few of your products up front so that you can start customizing your website and really build it out with the products you have. So if we go back to our homepage, just by clicking on the logo on the top, which we will change in a second, you can see that the website in general is kind of like customized around like the best-selling products, stuff like that. Like it's really product-centric here. So the fact that there are no products right now is because we deleted the ones that were previously showing up here, but we can go and start building this website, making it look better with the products that we now have available. So let's go back to My WordPress on the top left. And let's start talking a little bit more about what we can do with the products before we start customizing the site. So for example, we can talk about categories, and we've done that a little bit, but if we go to products, you also have all types of things. So you can see that what's in stock, you can see the price of stuff, you can add stars to things, you can add tags to things, and all of that is going to make it very easy to manage your website in the long run. But of course, like I said, if we go into categories, right now we only have really one category that makes sense here. We've got uncategorized, which you're just gonna leave it there. We have groceries, which I don't want. I'm gonna delete groceries because you don't want somebody going to like santrelsurfshop.com/groceries and finding like, and just being confused, right? So I'm gonna delete this one, we don't want that. And same thing with juice, that doesn't make sense on this website, so we can go about deleting that one. But if we wanna add a new category, we could say that instead maybe it is like learning to surf or something like that, learning. And maybe if you're just getting big, learning to, which by the way reminds me that this would actually make sense to be a blog, like a Learn to Surf blog, which would be a great way to gain a lot of extra traffic on this site, as it's something that people probably search a lot, and once they find information, they trust your brand a little bit more, and you can also start pitching your own product there. But right here, we're gonna say Learn to Surf is maybe a category for beginners that will have a lot of things relevant for them. So we can go and add that as a new category. You can add a thumbnail for that as well. You can choose the URL slug. We're just gonna add that as a new category, and of course, products could be added to this category. Tags are showing up down here, all the different tagged products we have, and of course, attributes as well. You can customize all of that. If you go down to analytics, this is not especially exciting now because we don't have any sales, we don't have any traffic on this website at all, so it's not something that anybody's really going to, you're not gonna see any numbers here in general. But once you start making some traffic or really getting some traffic and getting some sales, this will start becoming more interesting and more meaningful. And honestly, you'll probably spend a lot of your time looking at this. Similarly, marketing right now, we don't really have a whole lot going on because it's not a fully fleshed out website, but eventually you probably wanna set up like a Facebook integration, you wanna set up a MailChimp integration, and I have videos on each of these on the channel as well. So I'm not gonna cover that too much in this video, but if you wanna have an email list, MailChimp is a great way to do that. If you wanna start selling things on Instagram, or if you wanna start selling them on Facebook, again, we have videos on how to do that, so you can integrate very easily and start listing your products on a more social platform. And you can integrate all of that very, very easily from right down here. So I pretty much just explained these tabs right here. And now I think we're really ready to start customizing the website. Now, the website is set up in kind of 2 different tiers. You have your pages and you have your posts. So pages are going to be essentially any permanent page that isn't changing, it's not time sensitive, it's not a blog article, and instead it's going to be like an about me page, it's going to be a terms of service, it's going to be privacy policy, stuff like that. So let's click on pages and start there. Now you can see the pages, there are a lot here that, depending on which template you use or which theme you're using, you might have different ones appearing. So maybe my account might not show up for everybody, the shop page might not show up for everybody, but generally you should be looking something like this. Now, if we just want to go and start off with our home page, which is this one right here, we can go and click Edit with Elementor. And it's going to open up, like I said, a nice, convenient drag and drop editor that allows you to customize this as if it were just like a PowerPoint slide or a Word document. It's very easy to do. And I'm going to talk about what tools we have available and where they are so that you guys can really customize on your own. But like I said, once you kind of get the hang of what the tools are available and where and how to change things, like the fundamentals of it, then it becomes very, very easy to do. So this is our home page. And essentially on the right side, the main screen here is what the website actually looks like. This is what it looks like in real time. It's live. And as we start making changes, of course, it's not live. We'll have to go and publish that with the little update button. But this is what it currently looks like right now. If you went to the website and scrolled down, it would look exactly like this. This is not some kind of weird, like, behind the scenes editor mode. This is what it looks like. Now, I know this might look a little bit intimidating, so I'm going to go through all the different tools we have on the left side in a second, but I want to start off with the right side and kind of give you the basic fundamental structure of how this is built. And a really common layout for a lot of websites these days, a lot of website builders, is to use something called a strip layout. In this situation, they're calling them sections, but you can see right here the little blue icon on the top where we have a plus, we have a little grid, and we have an X. And so if we just look on this, if we click on that, the middle one is to edit the section, the left one is to add another section, and the one on the right, the little X, is to remove this section. Now, a section is essentially this entire area that has a white background. So the strip layout, like I said, the section layout, kind of interchangeable terms there. As you scroll down, you'll see that we have kind of different sections. So this right here is going to be one, this entire kind of dark blue background. And then we have, this is one section right here. Below that we have this kind of lighter tan color background is another one. This is another one. So you can see all these different little sections here. This one has a lot of smaller sections, whereas most websites you go to, a lot of blogs typically just have a couple large ones like this. So maybe we'll change this to make it a couple larger ones. But I mean, it's up to you, really, the taste you have for your own website. But you get the idea of how this is actually going to be laid out with these different sections. And we're going to get into actually editing them in a second, but let's first scroll down and see if there's any that we want to remove. So it looks like this one right here is probably just there for space so they could have that little leaf in there. I don't really care about having that leaf there. I don't really plan to replace it with anything. So if we wanted to remove this section, we can go and hover over it until we see the little blue icon and click on the X to delete that section. And like I thought, that's where the leaf was housed, so the leaf is no longer there. And so you can do that with a lot of these different sections. If we want to get rid of this little banner down here, again, we can remove that. We can remove this one. I'm going to remove this one because I don't think that really makes sense there. And of course, going through these, like, there's definitely way too many sections for my taste for a website. I usually like a simpler home page than this. But, you know, let's go through and see if we want to actually change any. So this one right here, customer reviews, looks too complicated for what I'm doing with this site. I want something simpler. Let's remove that one as well. And again, another thing to keep in mind is it's really important, and we'll talk about this throughout this video, it's important to look at this not only on a desktop or a laptop, but also on some other displays. Some screens have different aspect ratios, and the website will show up very differently. Similarly, you should be looking at this on tablets, which it actually lets you do down here. And you can also do this, you can preview it on a phone as well. And we'll talk more about that throughout this video. But continuing on, we're just looking at desktop mode right now, really bare bones basics here. And I'm going to remove this section as well. And let's just say we want to add a section maybe right below this one here. So maybe right in here we want to add a section. We can click on the plus, and it's going to give us the option to add either a blank section, which it kind of does by default. We can start dragging stuff over, or we can actually do a little bit more than that. We can have something from a template that we are essentially what we saved from before, and I'll talk about that in a second, or we can have kind of a pre-made one, a starter template, and I'm just going to click on this to show you guys. A lot of these you're going to have to pay for, but there are plenty if you look at blocks on the top, so not pages, but blocks. You can look at a preset template block that you're able to use. So if you really want to have something like testimonials, rather than going and configuring all of that yourself, a lot of times it's much easier to just go down and find something like maybe this right here would work really well as a testimonial section. Similarly, you can go down and see like a quote right here that might be another testimonial you could do. You could have like a slideshow of different quotes. So there's a lot of ways to save you a lot of work. So I highly recommend doing this, especially if you're looking for a more complicated block. I'm going to close out of this and not add one of those right now, but you get the idea. They're very easy to add in there. Instead, let's look at fundamentally how we could build this out from scratch. So if we click on the plus icon there, it wants to know what the structure is. So I mentioned the first tier of this hierarchy is essentially the sections right here, the strips. Now the second tier is actually the columns. And so you can see we have a single column, you can have a double column, you can have 3 columns, and you can move wherever the column is. It doesn't have to be a center divide. In fact, some kind of already preset it to the left side or to the right side to make that easier, but you could move it on your own after you choose this. And so let's just say, like this one right here, you can see is a 4 column. Maybe down here I want to have like a simple little 3 column, and in each of those columns, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to add, but you'll see right there, they are blank. Now, the reason that it's not taller is because there's nothing in them yet. So we're gonna have to start adding different text and images, and that will start to make this taller. But if we click on that, you can see that we have some settings for this section now. On top of that, we also have settings for the individual columns. If we click on, when we hover over a column, you see this little kind of book icon there. If we click on that, we can actually edit the column here if you want to have like a different background for these or anything like that. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself right now. Let's start off kind of going back a little bit and talk about the settings of this section, and then we'll talk about the settings of these columns, and then we'll start adding stuff into the columns. So for the section right here, we can actually go and click on that little 6-dot array, and this on the left side, this is where this panel really comes in handy. And you can see that we have a lot of settings here. A lot of this, honestly, you probably won't use in your website. It's not, like a lot of it you can just leave on default. But if you really want to customize it, you will start to find some important things here like overflow, vertical alignment, things like that. And again, I'm talking a lot about more of this stuff in detail if you guys want to check out my full tutorial on how to use Elementor. But for the purposes of this video, we're really going to be looking at like the background is really what's most important, I think, and a couple other things like that. So if we go to style, after we clicked on settings for this section, we can go and change the background here to a gradient, something classic, a video, or a slideshow as well. So if we go to video, let's see if we have any videos on here. I actually don't believe I uploaded any, so maybe instead we'll just go with a simple background. Now we can have a single image, as you see right here, or a color if we click on this little box here. And so if I want this to be kind of like a maroon color or like a little bit of a darker, maybe like that. Actually, this is going to be like a surfing website. So let's go for something a little bit more lighter, more beachy, maybe something. I don't know, let's just go with that for now. So that's going to be the background for this section. Probably not the best color choice, but you get the idea of how we're doing that. Now, if we go down to edit the columns, like I said, you click on the little icon there, and within the columns, you could change the background of these as well. If you go to background type, you could also go to advanced and see like when this is being displayed. So if you wanted this column to be hidden when you're on desktop, you could do that, or you could hide it on a tablet or on mobile. So if there's ever like an image or something that you know, like for example, when this section gets moved to a mobile device, when you open it up on a phone, these columns are going to be stacked vertically. And so if that doesn't make sense for you, it might be a good idea to either hide this entire section or hide individual columns on mobile. So that's just something to keep in mind, a little bit more advanced, but definitely very, very good to know. It's something I do on almost every website I ever make. So with that being said, we kind of understand the general structure now. Let's start adding some elements in here. And if we go up to the top right of this little panel on the left side, you'll see the 9-dot array. We're going to click on that, and this is essentially our library of widgets we have. Now, if you have Elementor, you're going to see basically just these. Elementor Pro, you're going to be able to use all of these. And again, as you start to build your website, I highly recommend you do that. I'll have a link in the description below, and it really gives you a lot of extra functionality. But again, like you can build a pretty solid website with just Elementor, the free version. And of course, if we go down to the bottom, you'll see again some more free ones we can use if you want to have SoundCloud, some short code, a sidebar, like all types of different stuff we want to do down there. Those are all free to use as well. But the middle section is all reserved for Elementor Pro. And we're just going to use these top like 12 here or 10 here for this video. So let's just say we want to have a heading right there. So we can click and drag heading over to this area. Then we can go back to the 9 dots. And maybe below the heading, we want to have a little bit of text. We can go to text editor and drag that below here as well. And then maybe we say, maybe right above that, we want to have an image. So we can go and drag an image until you see kind of that blue bar right above it. So now we have an image, we have a header, and we have some text down there. And so this is something I really want to have in all three of these. So rather than actually going and doing that again and again, it is even easier if you just right click on the little icon on the top left there and duplicate that. Now when you duplicate it, it does actually just add an extra column in here, and we don't necessarily want that. We do want 3 columns. So instead I can go up to this one, right click, and we can delete this one. So now we're back down to 3 columns. And let's do that again to make sure that we have 3 of this kind of image graphic right there. So we're gonna go and remove this one now. And now we have 3 columns, very easy to make, that have the same layout that I would really be looking for here, where you have an image, you've got a header, and then you have some text. Now, when you actually want to go about editing these, it's very easy. You can just double click on that, or really just single click on it, I guess. I just kind of habitually double click. We can go down and we can add a heading here. So we could say like surf rentals, and then down here we could say check out our surfboard at South Beach. And then here we can add maybe a link to that. So if we highlight that text right there, we can then click on the little link icon above that, and we could link it to either a product or really whatever we want. So let's see if we can link this to our product. So I know that our product has this link right here. If I paste that in, I hit enter, then now anytime somebody clicks on that, which honestly the color looks really terrible, we'd have to change that. But when somebody clicks on that, it is going to bring them over to the product, and they'll be able to do that. Now, similarly, this image right here, let's go and add the image. So we want to say this image, we can use maybe this right here. So we'll say insert this media. And all I had to do there was just click on the image, and then on the left side, click on choose image in the middle, and it's going to allow us to select the image we want and then go and insert that media. And of course, these are different heights, so we'll talk about that in a second. But what I really want to point out is if we go back to this image here, click on this image, we can actually make this a link as well. So not only do we have a little link right here to the rentals, which is our product that we're selling, I believe it's actually lessons is what I called it. So maybe we'll call this like surf lessons. We can actually go up to this image and we can make this a link as well. So right here, if we go to image, down here you'll see link. We can link to a custom URL, and we can paste the link there as well. So now this entire image, if somebody clicks on that, it'll automatically shove them over to, and if this is a product, it makes a lot more sense, to send them over to our physical product. Now for the next one, we can do the same thing. We can say this is like music or whatever. And keep in mind that with each of these images, you can also change the alignment of them from left, center, and right. It doesn't really make sense in a little column like this. But you can also change the size of them to make it something maybe slightly smaller, to medium, for example. This one right here could be maybe slightly larger, and you have a lot of different options here for customizing this to make sure that they're all approximately or maybe even exactly the same height. Now, this is a very easy way to kind of customize this. Again, this doesn't look good with the background I chose. For something like this, instead, I would probably just choose like a plain white background on this entire section, but you're getting the idea of how you can start to edit different things. Now, let's say below this we want to add another section, and let's take a look at some of the other things, some of the other elements we can actually add here. So I'm going to go and add a single column down here, and in this column, let's click on the 9 dots. And so we have a couple options here. So we've got the heading, we've got an image, we've got a text editor, we've already used all of those. Now let's just say we want to talk about maybe dividers, spacers, and buttons. Those are 3 really important things that I use very, very frequently. So let's just say we have, let's add a little header for this section here, let's add an image for this section, and then we'll add a little bit of text as well. So an image right below that, and then maybe some text below that. Let's scroll down and put, actually, here, instead of just having regular text, if you want to have one section, so like one large image in the background, then you want to have like a heading, you want to have an image, and then you want to have like 2 columns below that, you can actually use this one right here. The inner section allows you to have multiple sections within one big section without making 2 separate columns. So instead you can have, like, this is a single column design, but you have a little intersection here with some sub columns. And then within there, we can go and add whatever we want. So we want to add a text editor in there. And maybe in the other one, we want to add a little header and a button. So let's add a little heading and let's add a button, which again is very important. So we'll go and add a button right there. And so we pretty much understand how to edit images and headers and stuff like that. So again, like the header, you can just highlight that. The text tools pop up right there. And on the left side, you can change if it's an H1, a H2, what type of heading it is. And of course, if you go into style, you can start to change the color and all types of things like that. Now, I don't recommend changing the font for every single thing. Like in general, it's best practice to keep maybe 2 or 3 different fonts on a single web page, just so it doesn't slow down the load speed. As you add more fonts on here, it will make it a little bit slower to load your website, which in turn, Google penalizes that and makes you rank lower in their search engine. So that's just something to keep in mind. I wouldn't recommend changing the typography too much. You really want to do that in your theme. But now let's talk a little bit more about our button here. So if we click on the button you can change the text. So we can just say check out, or we could just say this product is order fins, right? So order some fins. The link could be to our fins. I think this was called surf fins. So surf-fins, I believe is what that was. I'm not positive. But of course, you would want to make sure you know what that is. And we can change the alignment of this. Let's make this one centered. Let's make it a extra large button. And then we can go and change if we want to have an icon in there. I don't really want to have an icon. And that's pretty much all I really wanted to do with that one. It's very straightforward. We can actually go into style and change the color if you want to. But again, for now, I'm just going to leave it at that color as it is. So that's pretty much what you'll want to know about setting up buttons. If we go back to the 9 dots, I also said that spacers and dividers were very important as well. So divider is going to essentially just be like a nice little line. So if I want to put a divider between these two, you can have like a line, something like that. Generally kind of aesthetic. In this situation, doesn't look good, but maybe if you wanted to add that, maybe like under each header would be a good idea. If you have multiple paragraphs near each other, that would be a good idea. And I don't really see anywhere else on this page that they did use them, but it's something that you can very easily use throughout different parts of a different website. And of course, if we go back, the last one is adding a spacer. This one's very self-explanatory. If we want to have a lot of room down here for some reason, we can add a spacer, and then the space is a simple little slider to choose how big that spacer is. It's currently using pixels right now, so 221 pixels is that spacing there. And of course, depending on the resolution of your screen or the aspect ratio of your screen, this would look slightly different. But on this laptop, that's how we're looking at that. So that's essentially really all of the elements I wanted to talk about, how you can add those. Of course, far more advanced ones below, but let's talk about how we can edit the page that already exists and talk about how they actually went about building this. So on the first one, you can see this is clearly a 2-column setup where we have a column on the left and on the right. The column on the left, it looks like they only have an image in there. The column on the right, it looks like we have an image, then we've got a header, another header, a little bit of text, and then a button. So again, not a complicated layout, but you can see how they use this to really customize the aesthetic there and make it look really nice. And then I assume what they have in the background right there, I believe is actually part of this entire section. They just have a white image with kind of a faded little leaf in the corner. Again, for the custom website we're doing right now with surfing, we'd want to change that. But the way you'd actually go about doing that is clicking on the 6 dots on the top, going over to style. All right, I see actually I was incorrect. The way they have that down there is actually an overlay on the background. So they have a white background, and we can change that if you wanted. If you wanted like a black background or whatever, but you'll see that that little leaf in the bottom right corner is still there. And what instead they did was they added an overlay on the background, another great way to do that. And so if you go to background overlay, you'll see they have this image right here. So we could very easily just delete that, and that's going to go away. And instead we could add really whatever we want. Like if you wanted to have this as your background overlay, you could very easily do that. And it's going to show up down in the corner as kind of a little faded background overlay. You could change the location of that from bottom right to maybe like top right if you wanted, for example, or really anywhere you want. So top right, you'll see that's going to move up there. That's not a great example. Maybe like a little wave would be a good example or something like that. But you see the idea of how you're going to set up that. Now, as we go on the next one, this is a very self-explanatory one. It looks like what they have is 4 columns. In each one, it looks like they have an icon and then they have a little bit of text right there. So pretty easy to set that one up as well. Going down, we'll see that the next section, besides the one we made, is another really nice one. This is one that I would probably use a template for if I was going to add this section, because although it's easy to make, it's even easier because you have this background, you have kind of a little shadow around all of these. It's easier to just use a pre-made template. But talking about how they made this, it looks like they have a single or a 3-column setup here. It actually almost looks like a single column with a 3-column kind of subsection right there. So intersection, it looks like what they were using. And for each one, if we click on the settings, if we go over to style, I believe it looks like they're using a shadow around the entire thing. So if we go, it looks like we have plain background. We don't have, I don't think we have any, oh, we do have a border overlay. So it looks like the reason that you have that kind of little intersection right there between the button being on top of that image is because that is actually a background overlay. So really cool idea to do that instead of just adding an image down here and then you'd have a big space. So a nice way to do that. I think that was a good idea on their part. And if we go to border, you'll see they have a radius on the border on there just to give it a nice soft edge and make it look a little bit nicer. Other than that, you can see we have some margin and some padding to give it like that nice little buffer between each one so you have that gap. And we do have a shadow on these as well. But within them, it looks like all we really have would be like a little title right there, some text, and then here's a button, and I believe this right here is actually just a spacer. Yeah, you can see it's a spacer, and that's how you're going to choose exactly where those lemons go. So the lemons move down here because it is a background overlay. Again, really good job on whoever made this template. This looks really nice. And then as we go down, you see the other ones are going to be a little simpler, but this right here looks like some short code, which is interesting because it means that it actually has another functionality. So this is something that isn't necessarily baked into Elementor. Instead, if you have any kind of third-party apps, if you want to have like a little quiz or some type of plugin, then a lot of times what's going to happen is you'll have some type of software on WordPress, and they'll give you a little short code that all you have to do is go down and paste right in here, and it's going to allow you to have some type of functionality on your website right here that is otherwise not offered, usually a little bit more advanced. Like I said, a quiz is a good example of where a short code would be. And it's, like I said, you can easily just go back to the 9 dots, go down to the bottom, and you'll see short code. And if you just put that in, that's exactly what they did right there. And then they pasted that code so you have that functionality. But that's essentially how they went about making this page here. I hope that kind of demystified Elementor a little bit. Like I said, we have a full tutorial on how to use it more in depth than I'm doing right here. But the fundamentals, at least you know how to customize your website right now. And we can actually go down and click update, and it's going to kind of publish the website, make it up to date with what we did right now. But if you didn't want to do that, if instead you were working on it and you didn't want to send the website live, you had maybe some more things you wanted to do, you can instead go to save draft. And then in the future, whenever you are done editing, you can go and update that and make it public. Now, if we go and say preview changes, it'll open a new tab. It'll show us this website, the home page, and this doesn't necessarily have to be live. So like I said, if you're editing it and you're not ready to go live, you can still preview, and it's going to show you what it looks like in full screen here. And you can see, again, you can interact with that. You can see how everything works. You can test the buttons. So this right here, I believe, should go to our product. It did. That's good. And if we click on the logo, it'll take us back to the page we were just on. So that's how you'll be previewing the page. Like I said, we already know how to hide elements. So if you go and preview it, let's just say we go to responsive mode. We want to see it as a phone website, right? So if we go down here, and like I said, you click on responsive mode, it'll switch between desktop site and mobile site. Now the mobile site here, if we go down and we decide for some reason, like something just doesn't look good. So let's just say this section right here, or this little column, we just really don't like it. Like I said, if you click on the little icon on the top left, you go over to advanced, and then we can go down to responsive, and we can hide it on mobile. So hiding on mobile means that this will no longer be here if we go to preview it. I'm not sure if it'll let me preview in mobile view. No, it actually goes to desktop view. But you can see this is essentially our preview. It's grayed out right now because that just wouldn't be there altogether. That section would be entirely missing. So when you're on a mobile site, it's gone, which in a lot of situations you will have to do because not everything's going to transfer perfectly from a desktop site to a tablet site and then over to a mobile site as well. But with that being said, let's go back to the mobile site, which is where we are right now. And that's really everything I wanted to show you in Elementor. So we can also go up here. That's no other building really is what I'm going to talk about right now. But let's go back and talk about some of the other fundamental things we can do here. So let's update this. And if we clicked on the top left for those settings, you'll see that we have a couple options here. So we can exit to the dashboard, which I'm going to do in just a second, but I want to quickly touch on the site settings, the theme builder, and the user preferences. In case you're looking for some more advanced stuff, like if you want to change the fonts throughout your entire website, remember how I said it's not always a good idea to change individual fonts? You can go back here and change like the fonts, colors, buttons, stuff like that, how things are actually set up on the global level, meaning across your entire website. Similarly, you could change whatever else you want in your site settings there, so that it's going to be applied across all of your different pages. It makes it a lot easier to do. So now let's go back to exit to dashboard. That is essentially how you'd go about editing a page. You can also add a new page, as I mentioned before, if you go to add new, and you can easily just do this from scratch. I don't recommend doing it right here. I recommend doing it with Elementor. So click on Edit with Elementor. It'll take you into Elementor. And within here, it's going to be very, very easy to either do what we just did and build the website or build a page from scratch, or you can actually just click on this little icon here, like I said, and import an entire page on the Pages tab there for whatever you're looking for. So maybe like if you're looking for an About page or some type of blog, very easy to import all of that right here. By blog, I don't mean like blog articles. I mean, if you wanted to have like some page that would redirect to your most recent blog post, that's where you go about doing that. So I'm going to click back. And something else that I kind of brushed over very briefly right there is you'll see there are other editor things on the right side. So besides just whatever your page is, like whatever's on the page is important, but what's behind the page is also equally important so that it's recognized by Google and so that you're also managing your website in a proper fashion. So the first thing is the title. So you can change the name of this page if you want to. I mean, I highly recommend not calling it Elementor number 4349. Instead, we can name it whatever we want. Similarly, on the right side, you'll see the visibility of that. Currently, it's public. You could publish it right now, which we will do in a second. Then you can go down to other things like the permalink. So right now, the permalink is essentially what is on the end of your domain. So santrelsurfshop.com/what. And that's exactly what this is going to be right here. So we could just call it like about surf shop. Like about surf shop. I don't know if this is like an about us page or something like that. You get the idea of how we change that. We could add a featured image here, and this would really show up on like sharing it on Google or social media or something like that. The featured image is usually a little preview that's going to pop up. You can also go down to some after settings there if you wanted to, and that's pretty much everything we'll need to do when updating or really creating any page in general. So if we go and publish that, we're just going to say yes, we're going to publish that. It's a totally blank page. It doesn't do anything, so not a great idea to do that, but you'll see the page is now live. Now if we click on the WordPress icon on the top left, that's really all we need to know about pages. I mentioned that there were two tiers. There's pages and then there's posts. Posts are going to be edited in a very, very similar fashion. If we go to posts, this is essentially the blog articles that you might want to put out. And these would be things like if I made an article about how to surf or beginner mistakes for surfing or top equipment for surfing, it's all very easy to kind of manage that. And again, if we go to add new, you'll see really the same tools. So I'm not going to dive too deep into this because I feel like I will be reiterating myself a little bit here. We could go to edit with Elementor, do everything we were talking about a second ago, but something that is slightly different is on here, you're gonna have a couple things on the right side, a little excerpt right here, and you wanna make sure that you add, I think it's about 155 characters as a little explanation of what this is. And so, like if I look up how to surf, you'll see that we have, besides the video on the top, you'll see that we have like a website right here. So this is going to be the title of the page. And then down here, this is the excerpt. So this is going to be what is pulled from that. I think that's even longer than usual. Usually it's like about this long right here. So this is actually it right here. And that's what you'd want to have in this little box right here. Keep it kind of something short and explanatory, but at the same time enticing for somebody to click on your article. And that's eventually how you start to get more traffic. If you have this is really good, and of course you have a good title, a good idea, and a well-constructed article. But again, I don't want to talk about articles too much in this video. It's really focused more on the store. So other than that, those are the fundamentals for what you need to know. Of course, I talked about media a second ago. If you want to manage your media, you can go here and like delete things or upload more in bulk. It's a little bit easier to do that rather than uploading it when you need the images. I find that building a website goes faster or more quickly when I have everything pre-uploaded. That's something just I like to do in general best practice there. And if we go down here, I mentioned before while we were adding the products that we do want to change the units. So don't forget that we're still using, I think, kilograms and centimeters. And so if we go down to WooCommerce, we hover over that, you'll see on the right side we have a couple options. So if we go down to settings, you'll have a whole array of different settings here. And this is where you can really change like the units like I mentioned a second ago. So first you have your store address. I think you might be, depending on where you are, I think in some locations it's legally required that you have a business location listed somewhere. So that's something that, I mean, look into your local laws. Of course, this is not advice. This is definitely not legal advice. So, definitely figure out what you need to do and add this if you need to. Otherwise, it might just be best practice to add that for Google reasons as well. But then we can go down here and see currency. So we have currency is US dollar. It's currently on the left, which makes sense. We have a comma for 1,000, a period for a decimal, and we want 2 decimal places. That looks like US currency to me. Then on the top, we can go over to products. Here, you're going to have a couple other settings as well. So like what units we have down here. So weight unit, we want to use pounds in the US, and we want to use inches as well. So we're going to go and save those changes now. And of course, I recommend going through all of these different settings all the way across just to make sure that everything makes sense for you, because you never know when you're going to go across something and you see like, oh, I didn't realize I was accidentally saying everything was in kilograms. It makes a big difference there, right? So going down to shipping, this is where you can have, like, I believe this is a plugin right here, or at least you can have different plugins that can estimate the shipping of different items. If you don't want to have flat rate, sometimes flat rate is easier because you don't know where people are. Charging a flat rate can be very helpful. But if you have a good plugin, a good software, then it's very easy to kind of just estimate how much it's going to cost and charge them accordingly, so that people who live like a mile down the road from you don't pay the same price as somebody who lives all the way around the world to have a package sent to them. Okay, so next we're going to talk a little bit more about optimizing for search. You might hear of SEO as a common term people throw around, and this is search engine optimization. And essentially what this means is you want to make sure that your website, you can make a great website, but you want to make sure that it's easy for Google or any other search engine for that matter to recognize what your website is and show it to people who are searching for something related to you. And so in order to do this, there's a couple things we want to go through. I mentioned before that you want to add like an excerpt and a good title on your posts and your pages, but there are some other tools we can have that really help us out with this as well. So if we go down to plugins, we can go and add some new plugins. I'm going to show you guys a couple new plugins that I would recommend adding, that I usually add. These help me a lot with different websites. The first one is actually called Yoast SEO. So if we're going to go, we can go and search for this. So we'll go to plugins. So we're going to say Yoast SEO, and this one, it's going to show up right there. There we go. So Yoast SEO, we're going to install that. Again, a very, very useful one. It's going to show up on the left side then. So we'll install it. Install now. It's going to show up over here. It's also going to show up in your post, and it's going to kind of give you like a score on the SEO and give you some suggestions just to make sure you don't forget anything, and also to make sure that you're always improving and making sure that everything can rank as high as possible. So go and activate that. It should take a second to do that. So that's the first one I recommend doing. And of course, you can go through, we have an entire tutorial on Yoast as well. So you guys can go and check out how to actually set that up and how to kind of change like the site-wide things, some default stuff to save you time as far as like titles go on different articles and things like that. But other than that, another really good plugin I recommend is actually called Smush. And I think this one might be bundled, like the functionality of this might be bundled into some other plugins as well. It's not especially complicated. But if we look up Smush, essentially what this is going to do is help to improve the load speed on your website. So I mentioned before that load speed does have an impact, or depending on when you're watching this video, I assume it still does, on the ranking of your website on Google. So if you have a website that takes a really long time to load, Google doesn't really view that very highly. It doesn't think that that's what the viewers want to have, because it knows that on Google, they want to be a reliable search engine so people can search for stuff and find good websites. And according to Google, a slow load speed is frustrating to viewers. And so that's why you want to make sure you have a faster website. And so that's what we just did right there. Smush is going to essentially take your images and kind of compress them, do some lazy loading and other things to kind of improve the load speed of your website. And then, of course, Elementor, I generally recommend going to Elementor Pro. That's another really good plugin there. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of other ones that I would add right away. I recommend getting started with these. And then as time goes on, you'll find some other functionality. Maybe you'll have to duplicate pages. Maybe you'll want WordFence as security. Actually, that's probably one we should add right now. Let's go and add WordFence. It's, again, not something that you always have to add, but it's something in general I would recommend for a lot of websites. So WordFence. So we go to WordFence, and this is going to be essentially a security, like a little firewall for your website to kind of help to protect it, at least to some extent. And again, this also has a premium option as well. So you can really do some whitelisting and blacklisting of different IP addresses if there's anything malicious out there going after your website, which as it gets larger, that's something that you definitely will want to keep an eye on. Okay, so I think you have a pretty good understanding now of at least the basics for how to make this website, how to make products, how to make the website look better, how to manage different pages and posts, but some other things that we really want to do. I'm going to talk about how to change this little icon up here in a second, and then we want to talk about a couple other things as well. But let's take a look at the website right now. You'll see that, ignore this little gray bar on the top. This is what the website's really going to look like now. And something you might want to edit is actually what's showing up here. As you make more pages, you might want to add them up here. Maybe you want to add a link to a social media page or something like that. And you can really do whatever you want with this, but you can't edit from here. Instead, what you want to do is go back to your dashboard. You want to go down to Appearance and hover over that until you see Menus. Click on Menus, and we can customize how this menu is actually set up. So you'll see that right here, these are the pages, or these are essentially the buttons we have, the options we have on the menu. And if instead we want Contact to kind of be a subset of About, we can click and drag that to the right, and it will suddenly be a subset there. So if we save the menu, and we go back over here and we refresh this, essentially About or Contact should go away, and it should be underneath About when you hover over it, similar to how My Account and Cart are underneath Account. Of course, if you want to add something else, you can go to the left side and say maybe this new page we have, we can add that to the menu. You can add a custom link, so just a link to like whatever you want, maybe that product, for example, and we could call it like Surf Lessons. Can add that menu. And of course, we have tons of other options down here if you want to go to orders or log out, all types of different buttons that you can add to the menu, and it's all very easy to do. So if you want to actually remove this one, you click the down icon, you say remove. And another really important thing to note is that by default, the name of your page is going to show up right here, but if that's not what you want to actually show up on the button on the top, you can click the little drop-down menu here and change the navigation label to whatever you want. So there we go. We could just do something like that, and then we'll say save. And now all of this is going to show up on our menu. If we go back over to the website here and refresh that, you'll see that unless, yeah, there we go. It is working right now. So if we click on the new one we added, Surf Lessons, remember, this is not actually a page. This is just a link that I pasted there that goes to a product. It'll just take us over by default to that product, the Surf Lessons. And so there's really limitless possibilities when you go back to actually, you don't even have to go back. The menu's just always up there. You can go to any one of these and everything is laid out exactly as we designed it right there. So that's a really nice feature. I really like how that works. And it's something that you definitely want to make sure you're customizing as you start to build more pages and add things to your website. Something else I want to talk about are actually some discounts. Again, this ties back into WooCommerce again. So if we hover over WooCommerce, we can go down to coupons. And within here, you can create all types of different coupons, really discounts for whatever you want. As you see down here, they can be personalized, they can be store credit, they could be free gift, they could be smart, all types of different things. And some of those do require extensions. So like it says right there, there are some extensions there. But for the basic ones, if you just want to make, well, I'll show you what they look like in a second. If we click on create one, you're going to have a code. And so let's just say this code is Surf 2022. Surf 2022. We can have a description if we want. I'm not even going to do that right now. And we can choose the way this is going to be. So it could be a fixed cart discount. It could be a percentage discount, or it could be a product discount. So I'm going to say on the cart, you are discounting maybe like 15% off. So 15% off. You could also just say maybe it's free shipping or something. You can have an expiration date. You can go down here and have a restriction. Right now, there's no restriction, but you could say, you know, if you spend more than like $50, you will get a $15. Actually, I didn't mean to add percent. Percent would be that one. So fixed cart discount. You could have $15 off if you spend more than $50. And so that's like something that you could add right there. You could have a maximum as well. If it's a percentage, you could say like 10% off your order up to $500 or something if you don't want to discount too much on a large order. Similarly, you can go down here and add products or exclude products for what it actually applies to, or product categories, or certain emails as well if there's somebody that you don't want or if somebody that you do want to get the email, so like allowed emails, you could add people in there so they're able to get the discount. Maybe like if it's a members type thing, if they're in your Discord or whatever, you could add their emails in here. And of course, you could have some usage limits as well to say maybe it's like one per coupon, one per user, whatever. But for now, we're going to leave it just as a basic $15 off if you spend $50, and we can publish that. And now that's going to work across our store. If somebody goes to purchase something, what did I say, Surf 2022? Let's actually go over to our website right now and check that out. I believe it should work like from the very beginning. So if we go and add this to our cart, that was not $50. So let's go and add something else to our cart as well. Let's say maybe some surfboard fins. We're going to add that to our cart. We'll say we're going to buy 1 of this and 10 of this just to make sure we get some cash in our cart. And we'll go to view cart. And of course, we can add that coupon code right now. So Surf 2022, we'll apply that. And I believe it should be taking $15 off. There we go, right there. $15 off because we spent above that minimum threshold. But if we started removing things, that should go away if we lose that minimum threshold. So if I remove this one, I believe right there. So it went away. That was no longer a valid one. So we'll try that again, Surf 22. And you can see applying it, it does not show up because the minimum is $50. So really a nice robust system there. I think that's a good way to make discounts, kind of incentivizes larger purchases, and also maybe that makes it easier for your end for shipping or handling or whatever it might be. When you're doing things in bulk, a lot of times they are more affordable. All right, now there's 2 more things I really want to talk about in this video, and these are absolutely essential to a good-looking website. And the first one is this little icon on the top. That is the WordPress logo right now, but we want it to be our logo when somebody's on our website. So what we want to do is actually go down to Appearance, hover over Customize, click on Customize, and then we'll actually go to our header. So it's going to show up with a lot of different options here. Go to Header. So header builder, sure, that looks fine. And we can actually customize the header a lot more as well if you want it to be like add your own logo, do all types of stuff like that. But we're going to go to Site Identity and Logo. And then within here, this is the logo we have. But if you go down, you'll see that we currently don't have a little icon on the top. They call it a site icon. That's what's going to show up on the top right there. So we're going to go and select one. And you have a lot of options, really, like just kind of a restraint on the size of it. But I'm just going to add, let's just say this one for now. Maybe that's the logo of our company. Obviously, it's not. But that's going to be appearing in the top up there. So once we save this, that's exactly what it's going to look like. So we can publish that. But like I said, this is also a good time while you're here to change like the logo on your header and really customize this, because all of that can be done within the header editor right here. It's kind of hard to say. And as we go back, we can actually add some other things with cart and customize the primary menu, transparency of that, and tons of other settings with your website within, essentially this is the editor for your theme. I didn't want to dive into this too much because it really does look different for different themes. So this one gives us quite a bit of selection here. We can also edit the footer on the bottom with the footer builder here. And so I recommend going through that on your own time and kind of customizing these things and making sure it's your own logo, your own text, everything makes sense. But again, I didn't want to dive into that because different themes are going to show different things. Now, I know most people are watching this video probably using Astra, but technically you don't have to. You could use some other theme and still end up with the same destination here. So we're going to go and publish this right now, and that takes care of that icon. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is really, really important. This is something that we could have done in the beginning, but in general, I just always procrastinate and push it to the end. And I want to talk about these settings for our WordPress site. So if we go down to the bottom, you'll see settings. Sorry, let me just scroll down. You'll go to settings right here. And within settings, we've got a bunch of tabs. So the first thing is the site title. Instead of just another WordPress site, which is going to show up on the top, we want to call this Santrel Surf Shop, and then like the best best surf shop ever. That's our domain. Don't change that. You want to make sure that it is HTTPS though, so not just HTTP. That way, you really want to make sure that you are using encryption on here. You're not just, right there is unencrypted, which in general is not best practice for a website. We can also go down here and say that if we want to add more users, we can go down to users. Actually, that's not in settings, that's over here. Users is slightly different, but the date format, I'm gonna leave it as it is right now. Some people like to use it slightly different there, and we wanna make sure that, let's save our changes. We'll go back to permalinks then. And we want to make sure, this is the other thing I like changing, when you're looking at your new posts, sometimes it's just like by default it's going to be question p equals and then like some number. That's really not the best way to name all your different posts as you make them. Instead, I like to do it this way where it's just like by default your domain / then the post name. But of course you could have a little custom thing where it's like instead of post, you add like blog. So /blog /post name if you want to do that to make sure that all of your blogs have a little special thing on the end. But in general, like I said, I usually just leave it at post name. Something that you should check to make sure that you do have that selected because I do think that is probably the best way to structure a blog. At least that's my opinion on this. Of course, if you guys have a comment about anything in here, a question, or you really want to know more details about anything I did in this video, please leave a comment down below. And of course, I hate that I have to say this, but watch out for scammers in the comments below. A lot of times people are asking for like your WhatsApp or your phone number or Bitcoin or who knows what they're asking for. We don't comment and ask you for money. We don't ask for your phone number. We don't send you private messages that are unsolicited. So don't worry, like none of that is going to be us. That is all scammers. Anytime we make a comment, we are probably going to heart our own comment, and that's how you're going to know that it actually was us commenting something. But in general, just be really careful about scammers down below and really protect your own privacy there. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. Share it with a friend, with anybody that might be interested in signing up and making their own online store like this. And as always, guys, don't forget to use the links in the description. They do help to support the channel. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.